Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of The Headliner on your favorite channel, Mikia TV. I'm your host, Umar Isa Nandugo. Last week, we had an honor of having a special interview with our guest, freelance journalist, Ismail M. Ahmad, who specializes in diplomacy and conflicts. He was here with us in the studio where we talked a lot about the media's coverage of the latest escalation between Iran and Israel. He's right now back in the studio with us, not to continue looking at it from the media perspective, but to also look at the whole issue from diplomatic and security point of view. We're going to analyze and scrutinize the Iranian influence in the Middle East, Eastern region, and also something that happened recently as Friday morning, that Israel was reported to have hit some places with in Iran, a place in a city called Isfahan that houses some nuclear facilities in the country. No confirmation of a nuclear site being hit by the Israeli retaliatory attacks or Israeli counter-retaliatory attack, if I can put it this way. An Iranian response was sort of downplaying the attack, saying that it did not do any damage, it did not cause any significant damage there, and they had zero interest in furthering the conflict, in escalating the tension between the two major powers in the region. Well, we have a lot to discuss. Like I said, I'm joined once again by Ismail M. Ahmad, freelance journalist with focus on diplomacy and security. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for coming back on the show.
Thank you, Omar.
Well, to be honest with you, the last interview we had was very much motivating and moving because we discussed a lot. And in the process of that interview, you highlighted, because you have an in-depth knowledge of history, you highlighted a lot of historical aspects with regards to Iran. So today, before we dive deeply into some specifics, let's get to hear your analysis of the recent what do you call it, retaliatory attack carried out or said to be carried out by Israel against Iran. What do you have to say about it? Did you see it coming that Israel was going to respond to the last week's Saturday's 300 plus barrages from Iran?
Well, I think everyone saw it coming, and some predicted perfectly that Israel is going to respond, but not the way most of Israelis thought that Israel gonna send like small arms or into the skies of Iran. After the Iranian retaliation on after the bombings in Damascus, in Israel there was a pressure, especially in the war cabinet of Benjamin Netanyahu, the far-right members of the cabinet, especially his security minister and other members. Yes, of course. They were advocating for a tougher response on Iran. And on the other side, Netanyahu, together with the US, are very cautious. You know, Netanyahu is a very clever man. He speaks very harsh, very rhetoric, but at the same time, he takes action very cautiously.
Oh.
Yeah, really. Oh. So I think the response is coming in a way of sending a message to Iran that if you continue, or when it comes to future war, we have the capability to hit you. And that secondly, to put down a little bit pressure inside Israel, especially far-right members of the cabinet, as well as hardline Israelis that are advocating for harsh response on Iran. So I think sending 3 drones into the skies in Isfahan, I may not call it an attack, but it's just a simple message that by Israel that I am also for de-escalation, but I'm going to tell you that if when it comes to war, I can even hit you even on your nuclear sites.
Okay, let's analyze the scales of the responses of both of the responses. Iran fired about 300 or more drones and missiles and cruise missiles and whatever type of missiles they sent, and they were intercepted. 99%, as is the Israelis said, were intercepted with the help of the Americans, the French, the UK guys, and even the Jordanians, for example. And now you said that Iran fired 3 missiles. I mean, Israel fired 3 missiles, which hit the city of Isfahan.
No, they were intercepted.
They were intercepted. Okay, they were also intercepted by the Iranian.
Yes.
What do you call it?
Air defense.
Air defenses. So, looking at this, which of the two sides has won?
No, you cannot clearly say this is the winner or there is a winner or a loser. I think the counter response and the counter retaliation is from both sides. Is really a message. Is a message that we are going to hit you when it comes to war. It's not a direct attack on the soil. What happened is that when you analyze all the attacks, including the one that was carried out by Israel on an Iranian consulate in Damascus on the 1st of April, that one clearly shows that it's an attack. It's an attack. And Israel knew that it's going to provoke Iran, and Iran will respond, but not that very harshly. Okay. You understand? Iran has sent a clear notice of more than 10 days that we are going to hit you, we are going to send you, we are going to hit you. And even the day that the drones were sent from Iran into Israel, there was even 8 to 9 hour notice that they are coming. You can see it. All the radars and the GPS detected the movement of the drones and the sound. So they were given more than 8 and 9 hours to be ready. Like if you allow these bombs to drop in your country, that's your own problem. But you can shut them down. That's the message from Iran, and so also another one from Israel, because reports had it that the United States has informed Iran on Thursday that Israel is sending 3 drones in the next few hours. So Iran got ready and activated its air defenses, and successfully it intercepted 3 drones. I think the two messages are a muzzle flexing from the two parties who were at the shadow war for more than 4.5 decades. Tactically, Iran's response is more of a response than the one by Israeli, because Iran were very smart in sending that the more than 180 kamikaze drones. So, and that was the first set of drones that were sent to Israel, and almost all of the 180 drones were intercepted by US, UK, France, and even Jordanian air defenses. It took them 8 to 9 hours traveling at 180 kilometer speed. There comes the cruise missiles, which took 1.5 hours to reach Israel from Iran. And more than 70, the Americans shot down more than 70 cruise missiles. And here comes the final one, is the ballistic missile. And this is the most dangerous because it's traveling, according to military experts, it's traveling at 7 kilometers per second. So it's reached Israel in 5 minutes from Iran. And that was the missile that directly hit the Nevatim Air Base, which houses F-35 fighter jets that were used to attack the Iranian consulate in Syria. So that was a clear message that those that hit us, we have attacked those, we have neutralized those that hit us and that hit us in Syria, and that when it comes to war, we can send you ballistic missile, and definitely you cannot detect it. And again, in Israeli latest response, crossing over Isfahan is a message directly to Iran, because the Israeli government have repeatedly made threats that when it comes to war, they can even strike at Iranian nuclear facilities.
They have been saying that.
Yes, of course. And one of the biggest is the one in Isfahan. The biggest is the one in Natanz, but one of the biggest is the one in Isfahan. So having drones flying over Isfahan is a direct message to Iran that in the near future, when it comes to war, we can be able to hit you there. So you cannot say that there was an attack or a response, but it's a more like sending messages to each other. It's a more like sending messages,
sending tactical messages.
And at the same time, the United States is leading all the world powers that are calling for de-escalation, because fear of having a wider regional conflict and the consequences of an Israeli-Iranian war will be very devastating.
And catastrophic, of course.
Catastrophic, of course.
I was going to ask you about between the judging. Thank God you are an expert in this field of security and conflicts and military stuff. Looking at both the responses and looking at the what both the countries have in their own arsenal, which one has a better tactical advantage, a more tactical advantage over the other, for example, historically speaking and presently speaking, contemporarily speaking?
When you're talking about Israel on Iran, for the past 4.5 decades, since after the 1979 revolution, Israel has never made threats to Iran directly without backing or hiding under the U.S. skirts. So because of the strong relationship between Israel and the U.S. and the threats faced by Israel, Israel from Iran, I think Israel is more reliable on the United States, for cover-up security when it comes to Iran. But directly, on the other side, for Iran, it has been under international sanctions, military, economic, and others, and that most of its air defenses, aircrafts, outdated aircrafts, it acquired since when there was a relationship between the U.S. and Iran during Shah Pahlavi, and that Iran you can clearly say that when it comes to fighting Israel, Iran can also rely on its proxies that encircle Israel in the Middle East. But looking at the arsenal and the missiles, Iran has like 5 military units, unlike other countries that only have the army, the air force, and the navy. Iran has the navy, the air force, as well as the air defense forces unit. The air defense forces unit is a specific unit that takes charge of air defenses, and that historically and since after 1979, Iranian military is more like on a defense. They need what they
attacked.
They need what they need to have. They have what they need to have for the past 45 years to safeguard their own country, and that is why they established the Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and it's solely controlled by the Supreme Leader. He is Ayatollah. He is the Commander-in-Chief. He solely commands everything that has to do, and even the GC has more than 6 to 7 units, including the Quds force that solely are on extraterritorial operations They are
it's
the
more
ones.
like foreign.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Quds forces.
It was headed by Qasem Soleimani
That
until
one.
2020
That,
when
exactly.
Trump hit him with the
Qasem Soleimani.
Sure.
And Ayatollah always appoints a very close confidant that always leads the Quds forces because of its interest in the Middle East, especially in the Palestine conflict, Syria, Iraq, and as well as Hezbollah in Lebanon, and recently the Houthis in Yemen. But when it comes to Israeli military, they are more of offensive military because they have a history of fighting the Palestinians, and that they resort to have a military arsenal that can clearly and quickly assassinate or deal with its own enemies. So Israel has a more offensive military package, as well as Iran has a more defensive military arsenal.
Oh yes, this is absolutely interesting. You have carefully analyzed both the countries' capabilities and defenses or whatever. One interesting thing that we need to look at is the issue of having alliances that we have in the international arena. For example, we know that Israel has the backing of the US and most, if not all, of the Western powers. Iran, on the other hand, is said to have a support, sort of support from Russia and China. Let's talk about these alliances and see, in terms of alliances, which between Israel and Iran has a better advantage.
Well, I think Israel has a better advantage in having an alliance, especially because the Western alliance are solidly behind Israel. And I think even recently, that is what Netanyahu was hoping for, to have an alliance against Iran. And even the events in the United Nations, whenever a case against Israel is established in the United Nations Security Council, its allies and partners always stand and protect Israel in terms of sanctions and even condemnation. On the other part, Iran's strongest allies is, like you said, Russia and China. But when you look at the relationship between Iran and Russia, and as well as China and Iran, it's not more of like a anti-Israeli relationship, because Israel was very clever in having a very good and sound relationship with Russia.
Oh my God, Putin?
Yes, of course.
Because I've never had any bad relationship between Israel.
For all the time Putin was attacking Ukraine, Israel has never condemned Putin.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't heard a word.
Yes.
Sure.
And then
that's surprising.
And they are backing Putin.
Okay.
Because they believe in having Russian vote in the United Nations. Okay? And they believe that when they are not in good relationship with Russia, then definitely it's going to be a very a good chance to Iran in having a military and diplomatic ties with Russia. And you know, Russia and the US will never sit under the same umbrella when it comes to diplomacy.
Definitely.
But Israel and Russia have a very good diplomatic relation. So I don't think Russia can support Iran militarily when it comes to war against Israel, because of the relationship between Russia and Israel. And the second one is China and Iran. The relationship between China and Iran is more of economic relation, not military.
China does not meddle
when it comes to political and security. They are more of in the past 20 years, China are more of economic interest in the world, dominating the global economy, competing with the United States and other biggest economies in Africa and Asia and everywhere in the world. So
even in March 2023, China brokered a peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia in March 2023.
Yes, because of its interest in the Middle East,
in both the countries, in both the wider region. Yes,
in the wider region, and both.
And that's why the critics of China were saying that China did not do this for the benefit of the Middle East and for the benefit of Iran and Saudi Arabia. It also did it for its own benefit.
That's exactly what happened. So the only country that has a close relation militarily with Iran is North Korea.
North Korea, yes.
North Korea.
Definitely.
They have exchanged missile technology between the North Korea and Iran for the past 1 or 2 decades. They have a very good relationship when it comes to military and security. And Iran solely rely on those what it calls the Axis resistance
of course,
in the Middle East when it comes to fighting with Israel. So I think having multiple hands against your enemy is a good way to have a start.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So Iran and Israel, when it comes to partners, definitely Israel has a more upper hand in having allies in the region and in the West more than Iran.
So definitely the calls from Joe Biden, Lord Cameron, David Cameron, the British Foreign Secretary, and other Western powers of de-escalation is very important, because escalation is crazy, is terrible, and a lot of people would be affected, definitely. So peace always is better.
Even the Americans would be affected directly.
Because they will be funding the war, right?
Not even funding the war. All its air bases will be in danger.
Yeah, definitely.
Because not even from Iran, but it's from Iranian friends in the Middle East and the Gulf region. So America will be a legitimate target by Iran and its friends. They are the proxies, what they call the proxies in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. So I think Iran has also a good chance of having those support.
Okay. So we have received a couple of questions. Right now the questions are coming in to my WhatsApp. I put it on my WhatsApp status, asking my contacts to send in their questions and comments. This one says, his name is Alibaba. He says, looking at how Iran has started purging up its long-term sour relationship with some countries in the Middle East, especially in Saudi Arabia. On the other hand, Saudi Arabia is an ally of the United States. Do you think this Iran-Israeli conflict will affect Iran's relationship with Saudi Arabia and other countries in the Middle East? Briefly, we have like 5 minutes to go, and I have other questions.
Excuse me. I think it can affect directly, because there is a hidden, unknown relationship of defense pact between Arab states and Israel and the United States.
Is it the Abrahamic Accord?
No, it's not the Abrahamic Accord. This one is a very recent one. It's a hidden one, not formal. It's not formal.
Through the back door, channel.
Is the one through the back door? Yeah, through the back door. I think the Arab states prefer to have United States and Israeli backing than the Iranians. But Saudi Arabia was recently very clever in having established a good relationship between Saudi and Israel, and as well as Saudi and Iran. Looking at what China did, like you just said recently, looking at what China did to have bring in Iran and Saudi Arabia on the same table to have a long-lasting peace between the country. Just recently, Saudi Arabia invited Iran last year,
yes,
into
2023,
into the Gulf Cooperation Council,
sure.
and Saudi Arabia made sure that Iran had a seat there. Okay, in its effort to have a good relationship between Iran and Saudi Arabia, not even looking at what is currently happening or what has happened in Yemen between the government supported by Saudi Arabia and its allies, and on the other hand the Houthis supported by Iran. I think the relationship between Saudi Arabia and Iran, it solely depends on the calculations of the Saudis. If not for the Gaza war that is currently ongoing, Saudi Arabia would have been in good diplomatic relations with Israelis,
definitely,
because the Americans offered them a very good package of having security, defense, and other corporations in replace of having restoring diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. So I think the Arab, not even Saudi Arabia, but also the Arab states may prefer to have a US support than have Iranian support, because there are two differences. America and Israel may not export some ideologies into the Arab states, while the Arab states have the fear of Iran exporting its own ideology and even dominance into their own countries. So I think to lose that power of dominance, the Arab countries may prefer to have US and Israeli on their side than to have Iran.
That's a very interesting issue, and like you said, it's about calculation. Definitely. All right, Malam Ismail and Muhammad, thank you very much. We're running out of time. There are a lot of issues that we're going to be discussing, but unfortunately time is never by our side. But we hope you will spare us a few minutes after this episode to answer some questions, to take some questions from our viewers and followers. Thank you very much indeed for being on the show. On behalf of everyone that has contributed to the production of the show, Ibrahim Salis Nasir is the cameraman, Kodubu is the video editor, and Dr. Ali Musa is the producer. My name is Umar Isa Dandugo, saying goodbye and see you very soon.